Well, turning now to Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described how Hamas is trying to divide the Jewish state, while its citizens are experiencing days of horror, sorrow, and rage after the murder of 6 hostages. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has that story.
In a sometimes emotional press conference, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's willing to negotiate to free the hostages, but making concessions to Hamas is a non-starter.
I'm willing to make a deal. I made one already, one that brought back 150 hostages, 117 alive, and I'm committed to return the remaining 101. I'll do everything I can to get them in. But leaving Philadelphia does not advance the release of the hostages.
He says he was already willing to make a deal earlier this year, but Hamas refused. And now the only thing that's changed is Hamas murdering 6 more Israeli hostages.
Now the world will seriously demand that Israel make concessions after this massacre? What message does this send to Hamas? I'll tell you what the message is. Murder more hostages, you'll get more concessions. That's not only illogical. It's not only immoral, it's downright insane.
The IDF released footage showing the shaft leading to the tunnel where the bodies of the 6 hostages were found. It was through a children's play area with stuffed animals and cartoon characters on the wall. Thousands of Israeli protesters have taken to the streets, demanding a hostage deal. But Netanyahu says that's part of a Hamas plan to sow discord, citing a document found in an underground command post outlining the terror group's strategy.
Push photos and videos of hostages, put it out in the media, because that creates enormous psychological pressure. Who's not affected by it? Second, increase psychological pressure on defense minister. Third, continue blaming Netanyahu. And fourth, claim ground operation will not release hostages.
Jeff Balaban of the American Center for Law and Justice told CBN News, Israelis relate more like a family to one another, with all the emotion and bickering rather than a religion or a country.
This family is in anguish since October 7th. It's deep, it's unresolved, and unresolved anguish turns to anger often. And angry people are easier to manipulate. But the vast majority, whether they like Bibi or not, whether they supported Netanyahu or not, understand that right now there must be unity, and they are behind this unity government.
Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, told CBN News, Israel must be strong to go forward.
We live in a very tough neighborhood. We have to be strong. We have to project our strengths. That is why, at the end of the war, Hamas will not be in Gaza. We will send a message to our enemies that we will fight back. We are determined to stay where we are and to build our beautiful nation.
Danon says Israel and the U.S. have strong ties that will remain.
The strength of the bond between Israel and the U.S. is based on values. That is why the bond will stay strong. We share the same values of freedom, democracy. We are fighting evil. The same forces that are fighting us today will fight the U.S. tomorrow. We thank the U.S. for standing with Israel, and we believe that with God's help, we will prevail.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Danny Danon always calls it the way it is, Gordon. He says the enemy comes in to steal, kill, and destroy not only Jews, but Christians alike.
Well, we're next on their target, and he's absolutely correct. Israel is in a very tough neighborhood with people that are bent on killing them. In the moments following October 7th, there was a very honest interview with one of the heads of Hamas on broadcast in Lebanon. And in that interview, he said, we're going to win. And the reason we're going to win is because Israelis love life. Now, when your enemy says that, they're trying to exploit what you hold dearest. And in Israel, if you save one life, it's as if you saved the entire world. That's why for decades they've been willing to trade prisoners, people who have been convicted of terror acts, in exchange for even one soldier. Because if you save one life, it's as if you've saved the entire world. On the other side, they're dedicated to being martyrs. They believe that if they die in the struggle, the jihad, against Israel that somehow or other have instant access to heaven. They're absolutely wrong in that, but that's what they believe, and they're dedicated to it. So looking at this from the outside, when Yahya Sinwar says, we have Israel right where we want them, they were divided before October 7th. That division can be exploited because we're going to exploit their love of life. They want to have their hostages come home. And now they've adopted a tactic where if the IDF is even close, they are going to murder them right ahead of their release. What diabolical plans. It's absolutely horrific, the thought process that says that's okay. I'm so dedicated to wiping Israel off the map, I'm willing to kill innocents. And it's astounding to me the world hasn't awakened to it. There shouldn't be any pressure on Israel at all. We should all be standing firm and strong. We want to see the elimination of Hamas so this thing never raises its head again. We saw the face of evil on October 7th. Today, let's face it head on and say no. Not on our watch. You don't get to advocate for the elimination of the Jewish people. Not going to happen anytime, anywhere. We are going to pursue you until you don't exist anymore. That should be our solemn pledge, and we need to stand with Israel.